Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about Cloverfield paradox. I have a lot of opinions about it. Let's jump right in. This is going to be a non-spoiler review. I'm going to lay it all out for you. Cloverfield Paradox is the sequel to 10 Cloverfield Lane and Cloverfield. Now, originally this movie was supposed to have a theatrical debut until Paramount Pictures decided that they wanted to put it on Netflix. And so once that news broke, we were all wondering when this was actually going to happen. And then to our surprise, they were like, oh, let's just drop it right after the Super Bowl. The marketing strategy for this movie was the most successful part of the movie. I'll get into the movie itself in a second. It literally dropped its trailer and then a few hours later dropped the actual movie. That is incredibly smart considering this movie probably wasn't going to do that well if they were to release it theatrically. So Cloverfield Paradox is directed by Julius Onah. He's an upcoming director. And usually J.J. Abrams does this with all the Cloverfield movies. He likes to pick directors that are up and coming. This movie is about a group of astronauts who are sent to the International Space Station to work on a particle accelerator because the world is suffering from an energy crisis. If they get this particle accelerator to work, they could potentially solve the energy crisis on Earth. Your main character is Ava Hamilton, portrayed by Gugu McBathra. She has a husband on Earth, and she initially didn't want to go on this mission. She goes anyway, and these astronauts have been on the station for 2 years at this point, and this is the 47th time that they're going to test the particle accelerators. This is when things kind of go batshit crazy. The particle accelerator does work, but in doing so, it turns out they actually enter a different universe. It's more of a frantic type of movie where these astronauts are trying to piece together this station because it's falling apart, get the particle accelerator to work again so they can go back home. It's really a movie about trust. They have to work together in order to get back to their home planet. So about the movie. The movie itself suffers from a lack of a good script and the direction. It almost feels like a really long 2-hour episode of Black Mirror. And that's not a bad thing. I like Black Mirror, and I know a lot of people do too, but the thing about Black Mirror and why people love it so much is because Black Mirror has good writing and direction. This movie desperately needed someone that could handle sci-fi a little bit better. It has a lot of homages to Alien and like Life. That recently came out, I think last year. The problem with this movie is that it feels too much of been there, done that. I like the concept that you have a group of astronauts that somehow lose the Earth. Like, that's a really interesting concept. But it's so bogged down by lack of explaining of the rules in the universe. These astronauts are transported to a different universe with a different Earth. Okay, that's cool, right? What's the horror concept and where does all the sci-fi happen in this movie? It's not exactly aliens that are actually hunting down these astronauts. It's the universe itself. Some of these astronauts are kind of picked off. It's almost comedic at times. One of the astronauts loses his arm, and then the arm comes back and it's animated and somehow conscious. And the same character's own death is comedic itself. And because of the script, because of the plot, none of this makes sense. Yes, these astronauts are sent to a different dimension. But what does that do? Because they're not meant to be in that universe, the universe is gonna attack them? There are no rules in this movie, and I think with a better script and a better director, this movie could have been a lot better. To be honest, it feels like a low-budget Netflix movie. And recently, Netflix has been putting out some pretty good movies such as Mudbound and Bright. Both of those movies actually have a well-spent budget. You can tell that they were made to be in the cinema, but we just have the luxury of watching it at home. The thing about this movie is that it feels low budget. It doesn't feel like this was supposed to be in theaters. And now it makes sense. It makes sense that Paramount put it on Netflix because I don't think that it's cinematic enough to be in the theaters. The actors involved are all amazing. It boils down to, do you watch it because you love sci-fi? Do you watch it because you love the actors, or are you just interested in knowing the origin of Cloverfield? You're kind of meant to put the pieces together yourself. And while that might work for some movies, I don't think that it really succeeded in creating the first chapter in a trilogy or a franchise. There's still so many questions I have. First of all, this movie is led perfectly by Gugu Mbatha. I butchered her name so bad. She really led this movie. I don't want to say that she's a Sigourney Weaver or she's a Ripley. No one's ever going to replace an iconic female character like that. But as a strong female of color, she really stands apart from characters like Sarah Connor and Ripley. She led this movie. It was definitely her. There was definitely a lot of parts where you got to see her break down. As an audience member, you feel that she is conveying so much little what she's given in the actual script. That being said, some of the other actors, I felt like they were just disposable. Just like a lot of these movies, sci-fi horror movies, they don't exactly care about the characters. And no, they're disposable. You know what you're getting yourself into when you watch these movies. The main character is probably going to make it through, right? That's the only one you should care about. I couldn't even tell you the names of any of the other characters because they were so unimportant. This movie doesn't do a good job by explaining why I should care about any of the other characters other than the main character. Overall, I think that if you love sci-fi and you love the Cloverfield movies and you love 10 Cloverfield Lane, go in lower expectations because 10 Cloverfield Lane kind of set the bar so high, but go in and just accept it for what it is. It's a flawed movie, but I think that it does do a good job in one aspect, in that I do have so many questions that I still want more, and I'm still wanting more from this universe. There's rumors that the next Cloverfield movie is going to be set in World War II, and I think that's such a cool concept that actually works considering the things that they set up in this movie. The repercussions of what happens in this movie is going to affect all timelines. This movie had a lot of cool concepts. The execution was a little poor, considering the caliber of actors involved, considering J.J. Abrams' name being stamped all over this. I was expecting a little bit more. Overall, I would give this movie a B+. I would totally check it out. Sit at home and spend 2 hours watching a bunch of people going crazy in space. I have a couple of more videos planned. I want to do a Bright video. I also want to do a couple other reviews from last year's movies I just now recently saw. So stay tuned for more.